In this first clip, we're going to see fish start about straight up 12 o'clock. And what you'll see is they just appear. They don't come from the sides, they just appear, which means they were deeper. Now you can see them chasing my lure. I hook one, and you can see it jumping as it comes back to the boat. The rest of the school follows along. This track shows fish coming in on about 10 o'clock. You can see a fairly scattered school, maybe 15 or 20 fish, some bigger ones, some smaller ones. I'll throw out past them and come up to them, and you'll see the school collapse on the lure. And there it is. You can see the one gets hooked, and now he's jumping as I kind of drag him back toward the boat. And finally, he gets in the boat. So in this picture, you can see a huge school of bait at about 12 o'clock. That's about 90 to 100 feet out. Now, in the shadow of the school, you'll see the fish start to appear, which means they are coming out of the shadow, coming up from deeper. You can see the streak of my lure coming back. They obviously didn't see it. And now, out about 2 o'clock at the very edge of the screen, you see a huge school of fish cruising in. So these fish are going to cruise around and come back down. You can see them now about 1:30, 2 o'clock. And you can see the bait down here at about 2 to 3 o'clock. Now this is a huge school of fish swimming in. You can see as I threw my lure out there how they just jump on it, just wad up and collect at the lure. And now one's hooked, and you can see it jumping, and you can see the splashes from the jumping. And as it's pulled back toward the boat, you can see the other fish still excited, swishing around. It's just an extremely fast-moving school of fish. So in this picture, at about 1 o'clock at the top of the screen, you see this huge school of fish come in. This is a 120-foot scale. And now about 1 o'clock, between 12 and 1 o'clock, you can see this huge school of fish. And they don't seem to do much. I'm not sure why they won't bite. They looked at the lure. You'll see it in a minute streak back to the boat, but they're basically just hanging out and cruising around. I guess they're looking for bait. Don't see any big schools of bait in this picture. Recentered, you can still see the fish up about 12 o'clock, between 12 and 1 o'clock. See how big the school is. There's probably 20 to 30. These are spotted bass. For the most part, they're spotted bass. There may be a largemouth mixed in there, but you can see them just kind of hanging out in the middle of the screen and not really doing much. You see my lure just streaked in straight back to the apex of the triangle. So it's they didn't like it. But now I've thrown out again, and you can see them move and look at it. But they really didn't do much with it. Not sure how to make them bite in that situation. Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. So in this picture, about 1 o'clock, you're going to see, 12 to 1 o'clock, you're going to see these school of fish come in. And they're not very well defined. They are right now, but you'll see they kind of disappear. And I'm trying to keep them centered. The issue here is they're actually deeper or on the edge of how deep the cone is going. So you can see they almost disappear right there. You can recenter them, and you can see them come in and out, but they're really not well defined because they're not up in the water column. They're down in the water column. Some of them are up where we can see them, but some of them are much deeper, and so we can't see them with this 18-degree cone. But again, they're hanging out. They're not. They're moving some, but they're certainly not chasing bait. and you can just see them come and go. But I thought it was interesting that you can see them disappear out of the cone, and obviously they're going deeper. So in this clip, you can see these huge schools of bait. What's really interesting here is that up about 11 o'clock, you can see four large fish in a small pod of bait. But on the bottom, or about 2 o'clock, you can see a small school of fish, or smaller fish, chasing this big bait ball. And you can see at the very bottom of the bait ball, that's the school of smaller fish that is now disappearing as they go deeper. But they were eating in that giant school of bait. So here, about 2 o'clock, you can see some fish, but you got to look really close. So it's a fairly decent sized school of fish, all about 1 to 2 pound spotted bass. Now they're over here at about 11 o'clock. Um, they're just kind of hanging out. I recenter, and now they're about noon. But you can see the fish, and then they'll kind of drift down and go a little bit deeper, and they'll go in and out of the cone. So it's just an interesting thing to see them coming in and out. So this is really just a typical morning. This occurred over about 2.5, 3 hours. A lot of different fish, a lot of different schools of fish, lots of bait, blueback herring typically. But as you can see, they move in and out. Some of them are very active. They're fairly easy to catch, and then some of them aren't easy to catch. But it's interesting to be able to watch them. So if you've been watching me for a while, this channel is kind of dedicated to forward-facing sonar and what it can do for you.